And welcome to NFL Week 16, Review 15, Preview 16. We got an interesting show. There's a lot of COVID outbreak, and that could cause upsets. Been some surprising games over Week 15, especially who would have ever expected the Arizona Cardinals to go down to the Detroit Lions. I love when cities take team names like the Detroit Lions and the Detroit Tigers. I wonder who came first. Um, wonder who came first, but the Lions or the Tigers. But I think it's cool that they have a similar jungle name. Hey, all out there, we are coming to you from Florida this week. And next week, I'm not sure where we're going to come from. As long as we come from somewhere, that's what's important. Coming from somewhere is the most important thing. So if you're not come from somewhere, then you're just nowhere, right? So glad you could make it. This was a late. Here, saw my wife walk back there. A late start, and there's the Tennessee San Francisco game going on. We'll talk about that. San Francisco has a lead right now, 10-0, and I am on the San Francisco side for that one. So let's we're gonna have one of our guests come on. So here we go.
Week 15 of the NFL season is finally in the books, and that means that it's time for some tasty Casey takes.
Casey will be back later. We have some more of those. She has a few interesting, as always, review, preview, observation. She has more observation. She gives reviews, but she gives observational. I guess all reviews are observational, right? Isn't that true? I guess that's true. So let's go down the line here. We have Arizona. I'm just going to go right down the line. You know what? Let's see what we got. It's halftime, so 49 is 10-0. And let's go. San Francisco, Tennessee. I'm going to give you a little analysis there on why I picked San Francisco. And then we'll bring on our first guest. And so San Francisco is playing. Oh my God, I already forgot. San Francisco's playing. My head is somewhere else. Tennessee. And San Francisco, they won last week. You know what? I forgot against two because I wrote down the wrong thing, which is not unusual for me. I will find it though. They beat Atlanta. San Francisco beat Atlanta pretty handily, 31-13. And they've been looking stronger. San Francisco has won 5 of the last 6, beating a good Rams team. They lost to Arizona before that. Then they creamed a bad Jacksonville team, beat a mediocre Minnesota team, lost to a bad Seattle team, beat an up and down Cincinnati team, and then beat Atlanta. Tennessee just after they won 6 in a row, and they've lost 3 of their last 4. They shut out Jacksonville, but they lost to Pittsburgh. They lost to Houston, and that's a big thing to me. So that's why I went with San Francisco on that one. So let's bring on Casey, and hello, Casey.
Hey there.
It's an East-West Coast thing. I don't know if you saw, I put up your intro video already.
Oh, thank you.
Introduce that, and you mentioned something about Pittsburgh, Tennessee in one of your pieces, but I don't really. I think it was more of a Pittsburgh piece on Rastabuler. What's that guy's name? What's that guy's
Roethlisberger.
name?
Yeah, it was just, what I mentioned was I'm not a fan of his because of his off-field stuff, and I haven't been able to separate him.
Right.
In the beginning of this year, I was like, man, he looks terrible. He should just retire. But
Right.
then in the last couple of weeks, he suddenly, found life. And it would be really weird to see them if they make the playoffs because they have Najee Harris, who's a really good running back,
Mm-hmm.
good defense. And if Roethlisberger continues to pick up his game, I'm not sure you'd want to see them in like the first round in a cold weather game.
Yeah, they could be like if Roethlisberger has a good game, all of a sudden they become a good team. I mean, it's not the team overall may not be so good, but he's had some good scoring game. But they've had some bad. They lost the game scoring 37 points, and before that they tied the Lions, and they beat Tennessee, who is last week, which is one of the reasons I picked San Francisco tonight over Tennessee, and so look at that, my sister is saying hello. Well, I hope she's still on. Hey sis, hey sis.
Yeah, so and the thing is, they have such a good young running back in Najee Harris that when
Right.
if the other team can stack the box and stop the run, then they put it on Roethlisberger's shoulders. And earlier this year, he wasn't coming through, but lately he has been, which then of course opens up the running game. And so they're really a complementary football team. They have to, in my opinion, they have to be to do well. They have to be able to do a good run pass ratio. And again, cold weather, that's scary.
Yeah, and so Pittsburgh, who are they playing this week? They are playing Kansas City. Well, that's tough right away for this week. And I know you're thinking,
Uh-oh, you disappeared. Well, in case I'm on by myself, Kansas City has really found their stride. Um, early in the year too, I thought, boy, Patrick Mahomes, his mechanics just not very good, and he was slumping, and now they really found their mojo, and suddenly they went from being, are they going to make the playoffs to, are they actually the favorite in the AFC? So I really still think that Mahomes needs to clean up his mechanics because some of those, what they call them, off. Hey, there you are.
yeah. Well, I was listening to you. I was letting you. Oh,
Oh,
but the Kansas City has won 7 games in a row, I think, and
yeah,
strong teams. I mean, they beat the Packers, they beat the Raiders, they beat Dallas, they beat Denver, they beat the Chargers. I think they're going to handle Pittsburgh easily on this one, and uh,
and yeah.
let's.
Think about the way we started, how the year went. Start the year, everyone thinks Kansas City's going to go back to the Super Bowl. About 6 weeks in, everyone thinks Kansas City's done. 15 weeks in, everyone thinks Kansas City's going to go to the Super Bowl. It's just wild.
Remy was in on them in the beginning. She liked them all the way. I didn't, and and then they all of a sudden, like you said, now they're playing like the Super Bowl team they are. They got like that comment. They got a ton of players that are going to be out this week. Reading the COVID list, the only thing I wish they would say is who is like a starter and not a starter, and that's the thing because I'm reading a lot of players like Mike Remmers tackle, Blake Bell tight end, but do these guys start? Are they? And they're going to be out because I think it's a minimum 7-day protocol. I'm not sure if it's a three
Yeah.
day or a 7.
And you have a good point too, because of the fact I think that some of those COVID list people they put down are practice squad people as well. So, you have a good point that, hey, give me an idea of who the starter is, or at least is someone who's on the active roster at the moment. Because like you're right, you hear like 10 guys are on, but it's only 3 starters and it's 6, practice squad games and 1
Right,
coach.
right. Like I don't know what team it is. There's one team they have like 20 people on it, but I don't know. I don't. Okay, so Tyreek Hill, I guess is he with Kansas City?
Oh yeah, he's like their
Let's.
big 3 are Mahomes, Travis Kelsey at tight end, and Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. That's their engine.
So
That's what
okay,
really makes
so
them
if
go.
Kansas City's playing Sunday, that's trouble because Tariq Hill is out, and you said that the tight end Travis Kelce. He's because they tested on the 20th and the 21st, so the games are on the 26th, I think, and unless whoever's playing Monday.
Yeah. I think with the COVID protocol, I mean, I know it's changed a little bit. The biggest thing is if someone is tested positive or was a close contact of someone who's positive. Because if they were just a close contact, then what they'll do is they'll say, okay, as long as you get 2 negative tests within I think it's 48-hour period, you can go back. So if you don't test positive and you're vaccinated, you can be back in as little as 3 days, or 4, something like that. But then again, there's other circumstances where if you're not vaccinated, it's an automatic 10,
Right.
I believe. And there was someone I heard today, and it's bugging me now because maybe it was a Charger I heard. Maybe it might have been Eckler, their running back, and I think they're wondering whether he might be unvaccinated in an automatic 10 days. I haven't heard confirmation.
What team is that? What team is he with?
Los Angeles Chargers, Rick's favorite team.
Yeah, he's vaxxed.
Oh, okay. So then he might be back in time then if he gets those. Oh no.
No, I listened to his podcast.
Who we talking about?
Austin Eckler, Chargers running back.
Okay, so he tested 12 positive on the 22nd, so he's out.
He's out. Yeah, he said he's not playing. So it's going to be Justin Jackson who's going to be taking his spot. Who's not bad actually. He's not Eckler, but he's a decent backup. He can play.
How does he do, Rick? How does he do in the passing game, the backup? I can think of him in the running game, but I can't think if he's because Eckler's a pretty damn good.
He's not bad. Receiver. He can do it. He can do it. And they're going to get his name. There's another guy there too. UCLA kid. He's been in the doghouse for a little bit though. He'll back him up. I can't remember for some reason his name slips me right now.
Yeah, it's always funny how you can be in the doghouse, but then when suddenly there's COVID and you have players out, like Antonio Brown, you come out of the doghouse suddenly.
Oh, big time!
The Chargers are lucky that they're playing Houston.
They're very lucky.
Houston. I was looking. Houston has 3 wins, 2 versus Jacksonville. That's their 2 of the 3 wins. But the thing is, Houston is playing. They're playing the Chargers. We just talked about, and I think the Chargers are lucky. They're going to walk out of this pretty lucky.
I mean, it'd be very Charger-like them to figure out how to lose that game, but I don't see it. They're going to win and puts themselves in a good spot to make the playoffs. Their next games will be Denver, and they'll have the Raiders at the final game. So still a lot of division games left. It's not over. It's not
over. Denver might not have Bridgewater because I know he's out this week.
He's out for sure.
Yeah. For sure. So in 2 weeks, who knows? The Chargers could catch another break if it's Drew Lock at the quarterback again.
This is crazy. This is crazy on determining going down to the wire who's going to play, who's not going to play. And going back, what was that, Casey?
I was gonna say real quick to follow up on that. It's funny because I haven't in those CBS pool picks. Mm-hmm. I've wanted to pick, but I don't want to pick all the games. They're forcing me to pick all the games at one time when I go to hit save. And this weekend passed. I was like, I cannot. I'm not going to start picking like the Tuesday Charger game.
You could pick. You could change. You got to just put the picks in. But you have like an hour before the game to change it.
Oh,
but okay. You got to lock it in, and then you're locked in. But once your game start, you have an hour to change.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
So,
to extrapolate it though, the bettors like a Rick, that you really can't bet anything. You might want to jump on a line. Let's say it's a 10-point line. Today. And then suddenly, as of Saturday, it's the line changes. Whatever. because the team that you're betting on.
Imagine you with Indianapolis, and all of a sudden Taylor gets, he's done. Because who are they playing this week? They're playing Indy's playing Arizona.
Yeah, very big game.
Right, and I'm going with Indy, because Arizona has had they lost to Detroit and to the Rams. I don't know what's going on with them.
I think I told you guys that I don't know if you remember, but about 3 weeks ago, I said I didn't believe in this team when they were on a roll, and I don't think anyone heard me. But I just I thought they weren't as good as their record, and I think it's kind of showing out right now.
Well, we heard you, Rick. We heard you, Rick, but we were just humoring you.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
So we got someone that's going to be at that game. I'm not sure. I think the Arizona game he's talking about, and he says he'll give us an update on Sunday, but that's a little too late for us.
No.
But Victor, thank you for doing that. And
commenting on the Cardinals, I heard a report today that there was a lot of people were commenting on Kyler Murray's body language and his engagement. They said during the game, especially towards the end of the game, that he just really was, not engaged and was kind of bad body language. And he's trying to lead that, because if you think about it, he's kind of the leader of that team. I'm not sure, especially with Hopkins out. I mean, who else is, if it's not him leading the team, who's it going to be on that roster?
Well, I think you're right. I do remember seeing that, and I didn't he was he was in a bad mood. Things weren't going his way, and the body language was very negative.
I heard
noticed that.
I heard a quarterback, I think it might have been Carson Palmer today, comment. He says, you got to fake it. Even when that happens, you got to fake it and be rah-rah.
He is not faking it at all. At all. Mm-hmm. But there's some good matchups this week. Some real nice mismatches too, as well. But
do you have an upset of the week? Or a slaughter game of the week?
I'll be honest, I haven't really studied too hard. I do know the game. I'm going to go with the Packers to cover. I think right now in my mind, 7.5. I'm not. Cleveland sucks. I'm sorry.
Oh man, they had
I can't find a better word, but
instead of Cleveland rocks, it's Cleveland.
They
sucks.
Had a bad showing this week. Lord, 16 foot. They're just not scoring. Look at this. They scored 7 against New England, 17 against the Lions, 10 in a loss at Baltimore. Then they beat Baltimore, and then 14. They're not scoring at all.
Right.
And the Packers
can score.
Oh, my God. Packers 31, 45, 36, 31 in a loss. And
they score 30 almost every time.
Yeah, they had 2 bad in a row. They lost to Kansas City 13-7 and then beat Seattle 17-0. Yeah, they're good for at least 20-something points.
That's a weird game, 13. That's low-scoring game with Kansas City, because everyone's saying that's going to be a high-fire game with a lot of points, and then it just turns into a defensive battle. But I just don't see how Cleveland plays with them. And, the Chargers -10 at Houston. That's my second game.
Chargers minus. You think Houston? You're going to give?
I'm giving.
You're taking the Chargers, giving 10.
Yeah, that game is. If Houston scores, the only thing that could hurt me in that game is if Houston somehow scores 20 points. If they score 20 points, I won't win. But how are they getting to 20?
Well, let's take a look.
The Chargers will have 27-37 in that game.
Right. They beat Jacksonville last week, but again, that's 2 of their 3 wins. We can't even count that. So before that, they scored 14 in a loss to the Jets, got shut out by Indianapolis, 31-0, and then they lost to Seattle 33-13. So they can't score.
How many times did they hit 20?
I'll tell you, they're under 20, 1, 2, 3 of the last 4, 3 of 5, 4 of 6, 5 of before. If I don't go back anymore, 5 of last 7. Oh my God, 6 of last 8, 6 of 7.
See, yeah.
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible.
They can't hit. So here's the thing. Ask yourselves, Casey, Todd, how many points you think the Chargers are going to score in that game? Minimum.
24. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's floor to me is 24, and like the Jets game of Houston, the fact that they could only put up 14 on the Jets. I mean,
24. Good number. So
right.
we're saying even if it's 24-13, you win.
Yeah, yeah. And if even if the Chargers are going to show, they need to step up even with all their problems this week.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. They're missing Eckler, and they
right,
can handle that.
right,
The
right.
defense is fine. Although I think their
Der,
DB might have a
see,
hamstring.
Derwin James,
Irwin, yeah.
that would be what the Chargers would really like would to step on the gas early, get up, and then just start to be able to rest people. Like Derwin James, not even have to
No
play
doubt.
him much.
No doubt.
Now that might hurt you a little bit if they go into that philosophy
Yeah,
because
no.
of that. So,
Well, I'm not worried. I think they're going to be up 30 to 10 before they start resting people.
yeah.
I mean,
What
because Herbert's going to be, Keenan Allen is going to eat like he is going to. They won't be able to stay with him or Mike Williams. Those two guys are going to dominate that game. Dominate it.
I don't know what the over is, but that'd be the kind of game I would stay away from an under over because if this time of year the Chargers could go get what they need to win and then just coast
And run.
So that's the kind of game I would stay away from an over for that reason, just because this time of year it must be weird doing over under bets because of the fact of when our team's gonna kind of do that.
Try to run out the clock. Yeah, more so.
But they're for over and unders though. Sometimes you look at it. If there's two teams that score and give up a lot of points, it means they have a powerful offense, but their defense can't stop. So if they're both playing each other, and if they're like busy, both of them in 35, 24 games, you're looking at a good 50 to 60 over on some of these games, and because they just can't stop. Casey was talking about Pittsburgh. I want to go back to that a second because I kind of agree with you with Roethlisberger. When all that stuff went down with him, because he's up and down this years ago, that tainted his reputation, and I don't think that ever escaped him. So Casey, I'm gonna put up your little piece on Roethlisberger.
I've never been a fan of Ben Roethlisberger. I can't separate his off-the-field behavior from his on-the-field performance. And at the beginning of this season, when I saw him play, I thought he should have retired already. However, against the Titans, I watched him bring back the Steelers for a come-from-behind victory. And I thought to myself, oh boy, it's December, Ben Roethlisberger's playing well, and if they make the playoffs, I'd hate to be an AFC team to have to face him and Najee Harris in bad weather.
Yeah, so but leaving that to one of the games. So Rick, Pittsburgh's playing Kansas City this week, and we were talking earlier. Kansas City has just become a powerhouse. Out of nowhere.
Yeah, the only thing that's hurting them right now is COVID. Without Tyreek and Travis Kelce, they're two greatest players. But they have a chance to be cleared still. I'm just reading the notes. They have a chance to be cleared, but
I didn't even know Travis Kelce was on the list. So
he's on the list. Yeah, both. So I still think they could beat the Steelers without him, but might not be as easy.
Yeah,
without him. I'm staying away from it. If those two guys don't play, it's going to be Pittsburgh's they're the weirdest team. They just know how to grind me up a game and keep it close, and it's just amazing. Like even last week, I was like, they're so bad, and then all of a sudden I look, it's 19-17, and they're about to win the game, and they just do that kind of stuff. They're really a weird team.
Oh. So then we got what other games do you think were on your mind, Rick?
Well, I'd like to see how Tampa Bay responds after that debacle.
How did they get shut out?
New Orleans played great. They really played great. I mean, they really did. And then they lost all their players. They lost Leonard Fournette, as you know, and Godwin, and then Mike Evans. That's what happened. You take
Tampa Bay has lost 4 games this year, 2 of them to guess who?
New Orleans. Right. And apparently Tom Brady has had trouble against the Saints ever since he's gone to Tampa, but I think also in his career. But It might be they're coached well. That's probably the first thing to note. But Carolina's not coached well, and they're not a good team. And Tampa Bay still has a good defense. They might squash these guys, even on the road, even without those players on COVID. I mean, those injured guys.
And it
But
looks like a clown car show in Carolina with them saying they might put in Sam Darnold.
I hope they do. That would give them a better chance to win than Cam Newton.
Yeah, I
Well, who'd
agree.
they put in last week? Didn't they? Who'd they replace Newton with last week?
Newton's terrible. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they replaced him in the game. I forgot with who, because one of their quarterbacks is on protocol now also. So Carolina's in trouble.
Newton throws barely. I almost throw as good as Newton, and I can't throw. So, I mean, like, it's crazy. He really can't pass.
He came back. He had that one game where he came back and he was doing so good, and then all of a sudden, and you thought he was going to make this comeback. And then he fell apart. He fell apart.
The game of the week again, though, is Buffalo at New England. Who did you guys pick there?
Who did I pick? I know I picked Casey. What do you got on that one? Anything?
I'm going with New England as a bounce back game for them. But if it was betting, money, I'd stay away from that game because I just,
you don't know.
Buffalo is, because the New England, I think you know what you're going to get with New England at home. I have no idea what you're going to get with Buffalo. No clue.
I like betting on Josh Allen. I like him. I don't know what it is. I'm a fan, I guess. I feel like
they lost to New England at home. Buffalo lost to the Patriots at home, 14-10.
Yeah, that was
that weird.
Remember that
game where they only threw 3 passes. New England.
That was the one where he would.
Yeah, that was the winning. This is going to be a truer game. I'm gonna in our pool. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm gonna go Buffalo. I'm gonna just back it. I think they're going to get him here. I think they're better. I think they have better talent. They don't have a better coach because that's not, Belichick eats the field. But now I am in the final 4 of my fantasy football playoffs right now, and I am dying to go back to watch that game because I just have to.
Which that's tonight's game.
Yeah, tonight's game.
Wow.
10-10 at the moment.
10-10. Oh, Tennessee smoked them back, huh?
He came back. I'm surprised at that one.
Wow.
I'm surprised at that one.
That was interesting early on that they were rolling San Francisco until Garoppolo threw that pick. And then,
I didn't see the second half yet. Were you watching that? Was a pick in the second half?
No, it was in the first half.
The one right in the end zone.
Right in the end zone to start the second drive. They didn't even have a third down until their third drive, I think.
They were smoking. You're right. They were rolling. They were.
And he threw that pick. And then he missed a wide open tight end Juszczyk, his fullback.
Wide open.
Yeah.
Last week was fun, and I didn't do it this week. Last week we were watching the game and kind of commenting as it was while we're doing the show. I kind of like that because we were able to watch a show and make our own little play-by-play and color analysis.
Well, I'm going with the 2 favorites, the Chargers and Green Bay. We'll report back, see how we did.
All right, Rick.
And root for me to take this Final 4 and get it back in the Super Bowl. I am the defending champ of the GPFL Fantasy Football League's 25 years strong.
Wow.
So it goes back a long way. These are some of my friends from childhood. So there's a lot of shit talking, if you could imagine. And it gets pretty competitive. But boy, we want to win. And there's money involved on top of it. So there's a lot at stake, man. A lot at stake. So
there's gambling going on? Gambling at Rick's?
Oh yeah, there's a pot. There's a pot and a big fat trophy. Nice.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it has all our names from the time we started from 1994.
And you're the reigning champion?
I am the reigning champion. So I'm trying
you need to show us next week. You need to show the trophy.
I'll bring it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But happy holidays to you guys, and we'll see you on the other side.
Take care.
Rick's Picks.
Cheers.
Well, that was nice for him to take a break from his uh, from his thing. And so let's see. We got I want to go. What you got here? We'll talk a little Indianapolis. Who are they playing? They're playing because you got a little feature on them.
Big game.
Yep. Oh, Arizona. Am I right with that?
Yep.
Wow. You know what? I've become a fan of Arizona, Indianapolis because I'm not a Wentz fan, but I'm really a Jonathan Taylor fan.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
he like squeezes between holes. He all of a sudden he's through. Like you think he's going to get creamed, and he's through.
And he's a fall forward guy. He always ends up getting a few more yards by his forward movement. One of those guys, it doesn't matter. Okay, he stopped for 1. Oh no, he actually got 2.5, 3. You know, he always is falling forward and getting that extra half yard. It's a joy to watch. He is actually in the MVP running in some people's minds.
I think that a guy like that should get like I don't see Chris Ballard is the GM. I'm not sure of what team he's talking about, and I don't have my researcher here. Chris Ballard is the GM of the Colts. All righty. So I've become a fan. Again, I'm not a Carson Wentz fan, but I love watching Jonathan Taylor. That guy just all of a sudden he takes off. Like you're saying, his legs must be so powerful. And you have a little Indianapolis thing. I don't know what you talk about, but here we go.
You can tell how much a coach trusts his quarterback many times from the play calling. Early in the fourth quarter, the Colts were up 20-7, and at midfield on a 1st and 10, Carson Wentz threw a mind-boggling interception into coverage when he should have just thrown it away. Sure enough, the Patriots went and scored. And guess what? The rest of the game, Coach Reich did not call another pass play. It'll be very interesting if the Colts make the playoffs, how he'll call it tight in close games at the end with Jekyll and Hyde Wentz at the helm.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Let me follow up on that a little bit. It was really amazing because everyone was just like, why did he just throw that interception on 1st down when they're up? And to watch the very next series and the series after that is just run play after run play. He didn't ever even give Carson Wentz the chance to throw the ball again because he just knew, another interception, and the next thing you know, they would be in a dogfight with New England. I like the Colts too, and I like Taylor. Man, what are they going to do when you get into those? Because if you think about it, Wentz actually hasn't played in any, major playoff games. He got hurt that year. They won the Super Bowl with Philly, and Nick Foles, took him in. I think the next year he got hurt as well and didn't play in the playoffs. So I don't know if Wentz even had. I don't know if his playoff record is very good at all.
Right. I think that they've been so strong, and Arizona's been. I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know what happened their last couple of weeks, but they. I'm going to go with the upset. I think it's an upset. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think it's going to be an upset. So, who would you? Do you have a pick on that?
I'm going to straight up pick them. I pick Arizona too. I really like the running back.
Well, I picked Indianapolis.
Oh,
I'm going to go with the Colts.
I'll go with the Cardinals. I really like their running back Connors. He's a lot like Taylor, in feisty, great pass catcher, very good running back. And one of those things where after kind of being embarrassed a little bit these last few weeks, Cardinals could bounce back. Where is that game? Is that in Phoenix or is that in Indianapolis?
That is at Arizona.
So
that's at Arizona.
So you're gonna so I wouldn't bet that game if I had money wise, but for pick'ems, I'll go with the Cardinals and hope that they get straight.
I think it could be a good game. I'm gonna do a little plug here, and so if anyone wants to watch the replay of the show. There will be the Sports Gluttons. It's on the Todd, You're an Idiot podcast, which eventually will have an offshoot for the Sports Gluttons. And if you have Roku or Fire TV, it's cross promoting on the America's Hottest Cheerleaders TV channel, so we'll be on there. And like, sign, follow, whatever. I hate. I'm not like a self promoter in any way, but I just got to put that out there. But if the announcers could do it, I guess I got to do it. So anyway, yeah, you could see the video replay on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the Roku channel and Amazon Fire. If you got that, it's kind of cool to watch it if you want to watch it on TV. So let's see what you have a comment?
I'll give you an update on the 49ers-Titans game. Third quarter, about 3 minutes left. It's all tied 10-10. And the Niners just went for it on 4th and 6 on the Titans 35 and didn't get it. So they turned the ball back over to the Titans in the tie game.
So once again, okay, 36, so that would have been a 53-yard field goal. You know what? If you're not going to get the first down, go for the field goal. Go for the points. Are you? Let's see, San Francisco, Tennessee. Maybe kickers are not that good anymore. I don't know. If you go for it at 4th and 6, I would go for I otherwise get rid of your kicker, because if you can't make it from the 50 or at least get close, then get rid of them, because you need those points.
Yeah, and look at the game conditions. As far as I could tell from what I watched in the first half, they're fine. It's a very nice night. There's no wind. I mean, it's pretty much a kicker's night as well. And they have Robbie Gould, who's a pretty decent kicker. Memory serves, he's done well. I mean, he's not some guy you're like, oh, he's like, white knuckles on your clipboard. He usually hits his field goals, and I think a game like tonight too, it's turned into a bit of a grinder. You want those 3 points, because
This could be because then they go and they're close and they go for a field goal and now they're up by 3. The other team, I would have went for I think teams are getting a little too crazy. So let's see what other interesting games we got this week. Atlanta, Detroit. That's a battle of the bads.
Now Detroit is the team. I wouldn't want to face the rest of the year if I'm a contender. I mean, they're bad, but they can rise up and bite you. So that's.
I think Jared Goff is out though.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
I think it's protocol.
And it's Atlanta. That's a game, but I'm just wondering, like in the final, I guess it'll be final 2 games of the year, they could bite somebody just because of their feisty. Sure.
But I think, though, I don't know who Detroit's backup is, but if Goff is out, I think that could be a problem for them.
Yeah, their backup's not very good. I can't remember who he is, but I know they totally floundered when they had their backup in there.
Right, and that's the only reason why I think it could be an upset and Detroit could win. Now they won 2 of the last 3 for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, I'm gonna go with, I don't know. Would you consider that an upset, Detroit over Atlanta?
I wouldn't, because Atlanta, any good team Atlanta's played this year, they've looked terrible. I mean, they've beaten up on some bad teams this year, but any time I've seen Atlanta play a quality opponent, they just get creamed. So they're kind of one of those teams that they beat who they're supposed to beat on the lower end of the schedule. But on the upper side, they just I think it was the Cowboys whooped up on them. There's a few teams that was just like, oh gosh, not good.
Right. Here's one. I'm going to call this the battle of the disappointments. Baltimore at Cincinnati. Those are like 2 teams that just all of a sudden. They Baltimore at one point won 5 games in a row, beating the Chiefs and the Colts and the Chargers, and Cincinnati just they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-2, and then they just went downhill.
Now Cincinnati, I mean, their disappointment is in the sense of how they started, but I think they were kind of ahead of schedule for the year.
Right.
So in the one sense, they're they built up some expectations early in the year, running off those wins. And then they came back down to earth a little. But, going into this season, I don't think anyone thought Cincinnati had a chance in that division Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. So
Mm-hmm.
So they've kind of been, they went beyond expectations and then came down a little. I like Joe Burrow. I like the receiver, Jamar Chase, Mr. Chase. I might be messing up his first name. So I do like the weapons they have, and I think next year Cincinnati could be very formidable, especially since what's going to happen in Cleveland with the quarterback.
Right.
Baltimore.
Oh, I think Baker Mayfield is out too this week.
Oh,
Oh
really?
no! Wait a second.
I don't think so.
Oh, so he tested 12-15, and he hasn't been released yet. He's still.
I thought I thought Baker played last. No. I apologize. You're right. Nick Mullen played. That's right. They had their. That's right. They had that practice squad quarterback played for Cleveland. That's right.
Yeah. And
now
then,
he would be under COVID if I think the max is 10 days if you test out. So if he tested on the 15th, the 25th, boy, and they play Saturday. So that is interesting. I'm not sure,
right.
Is it,
and he still got it. He still has to test negative.
Yeah.
So that's let's see. So Cincinnati, they're pretty healthy. Cincinnati, and who are they playing? They're playing Baltimore. So let's do. It's so funny because it's like it's an important thing right now because if you got a bunch of starters out, you're in trouble. And Baltimore's got a ton of players out.
Now, when you say a ton of players out, are you looking strictly at COVID, or are you looking at overall?
COVID.
Okay, because they had a lot of injuries too, so they've had a lot of injuries on top of or COVID on top of their injuries.
I may change. I was going for Baltimore. I may change my pick here because Chris Streveler, he's not the starter for Baltimore. No, who's the Lamar Alexander starts for Baltimore?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar
Alexander starting for the Republican Party in Virginia. I think, and to be honest, I hope Lamar Alexander's not dead because I hate to speak badly about him. I can't remember.
Oh.
His name rings a bell that he might have been in the news recently.
I don't know. Doesn't like this? The name Lamar is like a Southern. Just gives me a whole Southern feeling. Yeah. And so they got I
can say Lamar Jackson. He's so talented, but at the same time, I just don't trust him in big games anymore. I mean, the defense seems to say, okay, Lamar, you're going to beat us with your arm or you're not going to beat us. And he comes up small when teams are able to do that. So granted too, he doesn't have a lot of weapons. I think they're on like their 5th running back this season.
So tell me this, because you seem to know with rosters, Josh Oliver, tight end, starter or
no? Mark Andrews is their starter, and their offense is basically Lamar Jackson, tight end Mark Andrews, and receiver Hollywood Brown. I think those are kind of what makes them go. Now when they had their starting running back before he went out I think he got hurt like in the last practice of the preseason or something like that.
They got 3 linebackers and a bunch of D-backs out.
Ooh.
Chris Ford. I don't know if they're starters. Chris Ford, Christian Welch, Pernell McPhee, Sammy Watkins is a wide receiver. Oh. They could have Baltimore could have problems.
Yeah, especially since Cincinnati's part of their strength is the receiving core weapons too. So, you're right. They have linebackers. If they lose a lot of starting linebackers in Baltimore with the way that, because that's a lot of the game for Cincinnati is they like to inside receptions. Over the middle of the field is where they make a living. So that'd be interesting.
They're playing at home, but Cincinnati wins and loses all over the place, so I don't think that makes a difference.
Yeah.
So right. Buffalo, New England. We just talked about that. I think I'm going with New England on that one. Yep. Did you pick one on that one?
New England. Yeah. I like Josh Allen, and it's just that I just don't know what I'm gonna get. That's just their.
They fell apart. I think they fell apart. I'm not impressed on what's going on with them this last bunch of games. let's see what they had. They they lost 3 of their last 5. They beat Carolina. Lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Pats in a wet, cold game, and they creamed New Orleans, and they lost to the Colts, and they creamed the Jets, and they lost to Jacksonville. Excuse me. I don't. You know what? I'm just going to go away from that. Carolina, Tampa Bay. That's a watch. Could be the. I don't think Tampa Bay is going. They're going to bounce back like term you use. I can't see Tampa Bay not creaming Carolina.
The only thing in that game is, boy, is who plays for Tampa. They should beat them. They should. But
Right.
boy, when you start, if they're down to just like, let me think, offensively, their weapons would be Gronkowski. I don't know who else. I'm trying to think who else, because Evans is out, Godwin is out.
Oh, they're out? Tampa Bay's got problems?
Oh, yeah, injured. That's an injury-wise one. Godwin went out for the season last week.
Right.
I don't know what Evans' status is, and Fournette he went out last week. That game last week was pretty devastating for them on the injury front. So that's one of those ones, because they're so predicated on Tom Brady being able to hang in the pocket and throw the ball around. But if you're out, Fournette at running back and Godwin and Evans at receiver, Gronkowski, he's great, but he's not going to be able. They're just going to double cover him.
Right. If they have no one else, because they had another receiver, but if they don't use them, so let's see, Tampa Bay, who they playing? We just talked about it.
Yeah, they should beat
they should still win that one.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you never they lost to New Orleans 9-0. So
what's the?
That's a fluke.
Do you see the spread on that game? Is that something you have there?
I don't.
Okay, don't worry. That would be one. I'd be real if it's a spread of 7 or more. I would stay away, just because they're going to have trouble scoring points. Even if they win, it's hard to see a blowout by Tampa Bay when you don't have those weapons.
Right. Chicago, Seattle is a little. Are you up on that one at all?
Well, that's funny, because the first thing that popped into my mind was Battle of the Bads, which is kind of crazy.
But Chicago's so bad, and Seattle. Let's see, Seattle. What'd they do? They
lost last week.
At least they could score.
Yeah.
Except they had 3 horrible weeks with getting shut out, 13 and 15. And
where is that game?
That game is in Seattle.
Yeah,
so it could
I might lean towards Seattle, because again, they're a veteran team. They're not going to want to get embarrassed at home. And there's a lot of teams, when they go to Seattle, it's a long trip.
Right.
The weather could be crappy. You could be. Now that I think about it, because the weather we're having here in Los Angeles is supposed to continue through Saturday, and if usually the weather we're having, it's worse in the Pacific Northwest usually.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? Chicago. Can you imagine Chicago going there and trying to play in a heavy rain or something?
Right. I did your Indianapolis coverage, right?
Yeah.
I did that one. Yeah. I have Green Bay and Baltimore ready. I want it when we talk about Green Bay is playing Cleveland. So before we get into that game, Dallas, Washington. Dallas and Washington.
I heard. I think I heard today. The quarterback for Washington, Taylor Heineke. I think
he's out.
Back. Oh, he's out. Well, he might.
Oh, you think he's coming back?
He's a COVID guy, so that's one of those ones where I don't know if they if he'll clear or not. Because I thought I heard today he might be. There's a chance he'll play. Because to me, that Washington, it totally any chance they have rides on whether.
Oh yeah, I just see it now. Date removed, 12/23. So he's back.
So to me, that's the game. At least they have a chance with him at quarterback. Versus, I think last week they started a third stringer. I think.
It's funny. Like, none of these guys are ever injured by COVID enough to not play. They're all everyone is okay, and you don't know who's vaxxed and who's not. Like, even Aaron Rodgers, not vaxxed, comes in and plays well. And
The hard part with the COVID thing with the NFL is, some people say, well, these players, they're young and they're strong, they're not going to get sick. The problem is these organizations are made up, layers of people, coaches and team administrators, trainers, and some of them, like you have like 60, think about like 65-year-old coaches, 50-year-old coaches.
Right.
So it gets really dicey if you're going to have infectious players who are then interacting with, the rest, not just their teammates, but the rest of the organization. That's why it gets, weird. Do you want to put an infectious player into the mix and he's interacting with, like I said, you look at a coach like Pete Carroll. I mean, Jesus Christ, Pete Carroll is over 70 years old.
Right.
So,
right. And how is he doing?
There's been nothing's happened, but that's the thing about it. It's easy to, because some people just say, let them play, they're not, they're young, they're in good shape. They're not going to get, the player who's infected is not at risk, but the problem is then you're going to put them into contact with a 70-year-old coach and so on. So I don't want to get into COVID and vaccine stuff. It's just
it's
a lot more nuanced.
No, right. And one thing though I'm not happy about is I heard my favorite player of all time, my hero, Walt Frazier, is in COVID protocol. He's announced it for the Knicks. But hopefully he's okay. I mean, there we go. There's me and Clyde. We were working together. And what was that?
I had a pair of Clyde's sneakers when I was growing up.
Yeah. You know what? These are my Pumas now.
There you go.
He was like one of the first people, I think, to have a sponsored shoe. And where did you grow up?
In New Jersey. So I was under the New York media influence.
Right. So when I met him, it was like my poster came alive, my room poster. It was the weirdest, like the word surreal, if you're going to use that word, that was to me like where someone became alive. And but I hope he's okay. And so going back to going back to what we were talking about with what game?
Washington, Dallas. Which is their second time playing in like 3 weeks, I believe. I think they played each other 2 weeks ago, if I recall.
Yeah, and Dallas won at Washington 31-13, and they're playing this week at Dallas. Let me take a quick look at Dallas's.
And I'll say I screwed up that game. I had picked Washington in that game, and they came back down to earth. And Dallas is so talented. It's just their defense is playing excellent. Their offense just hasn't clicked. And
right, but they lost to Denver, Kansas City, and Las Vegas, which to me are important losses because it just tells you that they could lose. They could lose.
It's funny because I've heard some commentators and like a lot of them will talk about, well, Dallas is going to hit their stride. Their offense is going to come back. And the counter argument is, what evidence do you have of that this year? I mean, it's not like at any time this year they were really clicking on offense at any time.
Right.
With Ezekiel Elliott, basically, he's just not effective. And their backup running back Pollard, he didn't even play last week, I believe. I don't know if he's injured or not. If he's not there, well, then you're really depending on Dak Prescott slinging it around to his receivers, and he hasn't shown this year that he can do that very well.
Right. Well, we're going to move on to Cleveland and Green Bay. So I want to play your piece on.
In the Packers versus Ravens game, we saw two examples of the analytics go for it philosophy. Early in the fourth quarter, when they were trailing, the Ravens had it 4th and 5 on their own 35. Instead of punting it, they went for it, didn't get it, and of course the Packers kicked the field goal to go up by another 3. Later in the game, the Ravens then scored the touchdown that should have tied the game and sent it into overtime. Instead, they went for 2 points. They didn't get it. What I've heard is the excuse that, well, Coach Harbaugh knows his team. They were outmanned. They were beat up. They would never hold Aaron Rodgers down in overtime. I call BS. First off, earlier when they went for it in 4th and 5, The Packers didn't score a touchdown. They could only get that field goal after 3 tries on downs. Then, on an ensuing possession, the Baltimore defense held them again to a 3-and-out. My feeling is, on that 4th and 5, you kick it. You might get a muffed punt. Maybe on those ensuing plays you'll get a turnover. Then, going into overtime, if you would have went into overtime, who knows? You win the toss, and you get a long run, and you score a touchdown and end it there, and your defense is never on the field again. I really have an issue with someone trying to make excuses for bad decisions based on analytics.
Go for the points.
Yeah, I go for the I don't know. These coaches make some decisions that I don't understand. So,
You know what's something before we move on, which it came up in last week's show. We were talking about the overtime rule and the
right.
And then there was I'm trying to remember the game last week. It might have been the night we were watching it, that very game. It's killing me.
Oh, the Chargers and
yeah, I think in that one went into overtime, and of course the team that won the toss won it on the first on that they got a touchdown. The other team didn't get the ball back.
Not fair.
Yeah,
It's not fair. You play a whole game and you lose it on one series when you don't even get a chance.
I mean, it could be as simple as, okay, if you get the ball first and you score a touchdown, the other team gets the ball and they have to get a touchdown.
Right. That's it. Like nothing else matters.
Yeah, you're not extending the game overly by doing that. I mean, it's just one more drive. It's not
Right.
like, because that's what my understanding, that's the justification is you don't want a game going on forever,
Right.
Get it over as soon as you can, but it's just not fair. Because again, especially with the pass interference rule that, okay, you get the ball first, you're on a 3rd and 12, and you throw the ball down the field short and the, defensive back runs over the receiver. And then suddenly, you're on the 5-yard line and you scored a touchdown and you win in overtime. Not
Right.
fair.
Not fair. Not fair. Well, maybe we'll make a suggestion and, who knows? You could really, maybe you petition the league or something on something like that. Cause I agree. It's not so we got 3 more to go. Quickies, Rams, Minnesota. I think they're playing. They are Rams at Minnesota. Rams have won 3 in a row after losing 3 in a row and winning 4 in a row. So they started out much stronger than they are, but they slaughtered Jacksonville, they beat Arizona, and they beat Seattle. And Minnesota is just, I think they have some horrible coaching decisions. They beat Chicago, they beat Pittsburgh, lost to Detroit, lost to San Francisco, but then they beat the Chargers in Green Bay. So, that's a tough game.
It is because Minnesota, they've been in so many games and lost on one. They've lost a ton of one possession games. They just have, and the Rams, they looked really good last week, and they looked really good against Jacksonville, which of course is like, well, you look really good against Jacksonville, but they backed it up and consolidated it with their win last week against Seattle.
Right.
Did you hear that the starting, the running back who was the starter for the Rams, Cam Akers, he got hurt with a torn ACL right before the season started. He actually has been re-added today to the roster, which is I said torn ACL. I apologize. An Achilles, which is usually a whole season injury. So
Right.
That's really interesting. If they get their starting running back who, back for the end of the season, that could be really big for the Rams.
Yeah, I was reading something. Rams designate running back Cam Akers to return from injured reserve 5 months. Yeah, that's what I was reading. Titans activate wide receiver A.J. Brown.
And by the way, the Titans are winning 17-0 in the fourth quarter. I'm not 17-0, 17-10.
Wow.
Halfway through the fourth quarter.
That's bad. So San Francisco scores 10 points, and then
especially
nothing.
The beginning of the game, they went the first 2 drives without having a third down. I mean, that they were just rolling. And then Garoppolo threw an interception in the end zone, and then he missed a wide open fullback who was, I think, about 30 yards downfield. And ever since then, it's their mojo is gone, and the Titans have, just ground
It's like
out.
when a golfer makes a duff and he just makes a bad. He could have a great game and he hits one bad shot, and mentally he's done.
As I said last week, which I don't know how I made it up, but that fickle beast momentum. I mean, it just there it was. It just they had it, and then they lost it. And
Right.
especially on the road.
That's too bad. Because I thought San Francisco would handle Tennessee. Again, I'm not a big fan of Tennessee. I thought that they fell apart this year, and so Minnesota Rams. You got a pick on that one? What do you think?
I'm going to go with the Rams. I'm going with the talent and the way that Minnesota seems to come up small in big games.
Yeah.
And the Rams are all in. I mean, that's just. I think they have a certain, not desperation in the sense of, but I think they know the pressure is on, that they're all in and they need to win. It's a failure if they don't make the playoffs. That's a total failure.
Do you think Beckham has made like an emotional effect on them? Because all of a sudden, they turned it around with him.
Yeah, I think he really gives them that down the field threat, and it opens up so much for Cooper Kupp and the other receiver, spacing his name because they're down a couple of receivers. They're out their tight end and Robert Woods, their other receiver. They're gone for the season. So Beckham, it's funny because sometimes just other teams have to scheme for him. That if they don't, account for him, next thing you know, he's on a 40-yard, down the field pass, which opens it up for the best receiver in football, Cooper Kupp. So I think he's been well behaved. He hasn't had any real kind of incidents, and I think he's in it's a veteran locker room. That's the other thing is, they have think about their leadership with Stafford and Arnold, the defensive player, and they have Von Miller. I mean, they're just loaded, and Jalen Ramsey. They're loaded with so many guys that if he tries to act out in any way, I mean, they're gonna stop it. So I think.
I wonder, like, also, did he win a Super Bowl with the Giants?
Oh,
was he part of that Manning group, or
no? I think he was after that. I'm pretty sure he was after.
Yeah.
And this might be his. When I say his last stop, I mean, and not that he wouldn't catch on with someone, but I think as a premier receiver, if he doesn't do right here, would you really? Would you be the next if he messes up here and you're the next team? Would you bet and bank on him?
Right. So I think the Rams are stronger with him because he's making an impact though. He's catching the ball and he's making them consistent. So I'm with you on that on the Rams. Now here's a battle of it could have been a battle of the bads at one time, and I know Miami was a London game. We thought a lot. But 1, 2, 3, 6 wins in a row after 7 losses. And, they have a weak schedule. Houston that they beat. Houston, Baltimore, Jets, Carolina, Giants, Jets again. But against New Orleans, now it's a little bit more of a test as New Orleans has, I think Miami's strong, though. I think Miami's going to take New Orleans. What do you think on that one?
Very good coach. Flores is an excellent coach. That team, they could think about how they could have went sideways this year with all the talk about Tua not starting, trading for Deshaun Watson. I mean, they could have really went off the rails, and he's got them on track. He coaches well. The Tua's playing well. I would lean in Miami. I thought we said earlier. I think that's an in Miami game.
Yeah, that's at New Orleans.
At New Orleans. No, Superdome. I'd lean towards the Dolphins just because I think the quarterback. I don't trust Taysom Hill at quarterback for the Saints. I just don't.
Right.
You know, and that Flores is such a good defensive coach. You know, that's if you think about it, that's a very much a coach's battle because you have Sean Payton, offensive coach, versus Flores, the defensive coach. And so that'd be a game I'd want to. You know, it's not like
that could be a good game. That's a good game because
Yeah.
their confidence could be up, and I think they know they got to beat this team because it's you know, they're probably in playoff contention if they could beat them, and it's an important win because they're not. New Orleans is like the best of the mediocres. Let's put it that way. So I'm with you on Miami. So we're going to hit two more. So the game I'm going to, Las Vegas and Denver in Las Vegas. So I don't know how exciting a game that's going to be, to tell you the truth. I'm hoping, but
Backup quarterback for the Broncos, Drew Lock. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah, Bridgewater's out with an injury, and
then they're done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's one. Do you remember Jake Plummer, quarterback?
Yeah.
Drew Lock reminds me a little bit of him in that every once in a while he catches lightning in a bottle.
Right.
But I wouldn't, you know, with the defense of the Raiders defense, you know, with the backup like Lock, I can't see the Raiders at home.
Right.
Losing that one.
Right. And Denver lost last week 15-10. They beat Detroit. Then they lost to Kansas City 22-9. And they've had some horrible showings, even though they've had some wins. But, you know, knowing that the quarterback's out, that's, for me, Las Vegas is. Okay, so we are going to finish off with this one. The Battle of the Bads.
Uh-oh.
Jacksonville at the Jets. So,
as the Clash said, London calling.
I mean, it's like, it's not even a game where it's a good game where you go, oh, these two are going to score over each other. They're going to cream each other. It's like it's two bad teams, but it looks like the Jets could put points on the board as opposed to Jacksonville, who can't. So, and they're playing at New York, and I think that's why I'm going to go with the Jets on that one.
I'll go with the Jets. I such a nothing burger of a game. I mean, it's just
a meaningless game.
Meaningless, and that's this time of year too. I mean, I guess those are the kind of games I'll watch the replay, the short, like 12-minute replay, to see what Trevor Lawrence did. That's kind of like I'll be interested to see now that Urban Meyer's gone, going into next year. You know how he plays. That's the. Is there any other reason to watch Jacksonville other than to see what he does? I can't think of any.
Right, and you want to see if Trevor Lawrence could even play. You know, he hadn't even had the chance with that coach and with that team. Maybe he's not NFL worthy. You know, we're going to find out soon. So I'm going to go with the Jets on that, playing at home, and they could score. So that is it for this week. I'm glad we got on. It was boy, I go up and I go down, and I finally landed and got here to put this together. And thank you for sending over your weekly Tasty Casey takes. Little what is that called? The tongue twister.
Tongue twister. Which I named him when you mentioned Philadelphia Tasty Cakes, so that's why I went with Tasty Casey Takes.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It just works so well. So, Casey, thank you for coming on. And have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful holiday. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the NFL this weekend. I don't know if college, are they still playing college games? I guess not this week, right?
It's bowl games. Which I don't know if you heard about this. I'll give you a quick little. You might not have heard about this. The Gator Bowl.
Yeah.
Texas A&M had to pull out because of COVID. They couldn't field enough players. So then the Gator Bowl went looking for another team to play.
Yeah.
You know, they ended up going with Rutgers, who was 5-7 in the year, because usually you're only bowl eligible if you win 6 games. So Rutgers has agreed to go play in the Gator Bowl.
Rutgers from New Jersey, and they're 5-7.
5-7, but because of the fact that Texas A&M had to pull out because they couldn't field the team because of COVID. They got the replacement team who, was 5-7.
Who are they playing? Is it a Florida team?
I feel
no?
like I want to say it's either South Carolina or North Carolina. I think it's South Carolina. I'm sorry, that one because
Right.
in my mind I know UCLA is playing North Carolina State, so I got North Carolina State in the brain. So
Is that a bowl game? UCLA North Carolina State?
Yeah, that's the Holiday Bowl down in San Diego, which I feel like is on the 28th or something like that.
Wow, that's like a big drop. UCLA, who could be a Rose Bowl team, drops down to the Holiday Bowl. It'd be funny. I would like to go back to the 70s or 80s, see how many bowl games there were back then, as opposed to now, where there were like 100 with like 40 people in the crowd. There's just so many bowl games. I'm waiting for them. They should have the AMF Bowl, the Dick Weber Bowl.
Oh God, I would not doubt at some point in history that there was some kind of bowling sponsored bowl game. Remember the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl? That was a
bowl. I do remember that.
They just had the famous Idaho Potato Bowl just happened this week or something like that.
They used to not really be sponsored. It used to be just the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl. Yeah. And then all of a sudden there was sponsor bowls, and and they're coming up I guess this week, and they started, and then the next weekend is some big ones. Yeah. So I don't really follow.
It's funny. They took they're taking a little bit of a beating this year in the bowl games because it's all ESPN sponsored, not sponsor. ESPN basically backs them all being on TV because it gives them content.
Right.
But this year it's been hard because think about the NFL moving all of these games around. Usually the NFL would be playing just Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now they've suddenly got thrown in a Tuesday game. They've thrown in a Friday game. So it's actually hurt the bowl games because suddenly they're going up against NFL.
Oh,
games.
Yeah. And NFL gets the worst NFL game gets better ratings than the best baseball or NBA. It just that's how it is. So, all righty. Well, thank you again. We'll see you next week, and I'm going to wrap it up here. So, thank you to all our guests. Thank Rick's Picks. We thank Casey for coming on and adding her features. We always enjoy that. And remember, you could check out on Facebook at Sports Gluttons. You can come on my Facebook page, Todd Regenbogen. You could come on Todd You're an Idiot. You could go on YouTube, Sports Gluttons, or you could go to Roku or Amazon Fire. Go to the we're cross-promoting on the America's Hottest Cheerleaders channel, and you could watch that. And there's some other videos on there. There's comedy. There's podcasts. There's all kinds of things. So thank you for joining. Thanks for everyone for watching. Thanks for all the comments tonight. Really appreciate it. And talk about our show and let those people know. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy holidays. And we will see you next week.